The story of Prophet Musa, Moses, and Pharaoh. Imagine living every day under the weight of oppression, where freedom is a dream that feels impossibly out of reach. For the children of Israel in ancient Egypt, this wasn't just a fear, it was their reality. Oppressed, enslaved, and forced into backbreaking labor under the tyrannical rule of Pharaoh, they couldn't see a way out. But even in the darkest of times, hope has a way of finding its way through. This is the story of Prophet Musa, Moses, a man chosen to challenge the world's most powerful ruler, a man driven by faith, courage, and an unshakable mission to free his people. Come with me as we unravel this powerful story, one of miracles, bravery, and timeless lessons about justice and hope. We begin with Pharaoh, a king so blinded by power that he ordered all newborn Israelite boys to be killed, afraid of a prophecy that one of these children would rise against him. For a mother expecting a baby during this terrifying time, the fear was unimaginable. And yet, in her desperation, Musa's mother made a choice that would change the course of history. She placed her infant son in a basket and set him adrift on the Nile River, trusting in God's plan. Now imagine the twist in this story. The basket floats right into the hands of Pharaoh's own family. The king's daughter, moved by compassion, convinces Pharaoh to let the child live, and Musa grows up in the very household of the man who sought to destroy him. It's almost poetic, a symbol that no human plan can overpower divine will. Musa grew up as an adopted prince, enjoying the privileges of royalty. But as he got older, something inside him began to stir. He saw the suffering of the Israelites, and he began to realize that he was one of them, a member of the very people Pharaoh oppressed. Then came a day that changed everything. Musa saw an Egyptian slave driver beating an Israelite man mercilessly. In an effort to protect the man, Musa struck the Egyptian, and in the heat of the moment, the man died. Overwhelmed with guilt and fear, Musa fled Egypt to escape Pharaoh's wrath. He left behind his life of wealth and privilege, but he began a new journey of self-discovery. Far away from Egypt, Musa found refuge in Midian, where he built a simple but peaceful life. He married, tended to his flock, and probably thought he had left his old life behind for good. But one fateful day, while tending sheep in the wilderness, everything changed. Musa saw something extraordinary, a bush engulfed in flames but not burning. As he moved closer, he heard a voice. It was God speaking directly to him. In that moment, Musa received an incredible mission: to return to Egypt and confront Pharaoh, demanding the release of the children of Israel. Let's pause here for a second. Can you imagine how daunting that must have felt? To go back to the place you fled from, to stand before the most powerful man in the world and not just challenge him, but demand that he give up his entire labor force? Musa didn't feel ready. He expressed self-doubt, saying he wasn't eloquent or brave enough for such a task. But God reassured him, giving him miracles as proof of divine support and sending his brother, Harun, Aaron, as his helper. Musa returned to Egypt, now more determined than ever. Standing before Pharaoh, he uttered words that must have seemed audacious. "Let my people go." Imagine the tension in that room. Pharaoh, a man used to unquestioned obedience, facing someone who dared to defy him. But Pharaoh was not moved. He mocked Musa and dismissed his message. To prove the divine power backing his cause, Musa performed the signs God had given him. He threw his staff to the ground, and it transformed into a snake. When they failed, and Musa's snake swallowed their efforts, Pharaoh still refused to back down. His pride wouldn't let him admit defeat. As Pharaoh continued to oppress the Israelites and deny Musa's demands, God sent a series of plagues to Egypt. The Nile turned to blood, frogs swarmed the land, locusts devoured crops, and darkness engulfed the kingdom. Each time, Pharaoh would beg Musa to pray for the plagues to stop, promising to free the Israelites. And each time, after the plague ended, Pharaoh broke his word. Through these events, the Israelites began to see hope for the first time. They witnessed Musa's unwavering faith and the tangible signs of God's support. Even so, Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. Finally, after the devastating 10th plague, the death of Egypt's firstborn sons, Pharaoh couldn't take anymore. Late one night, he summoned Musa and told him to leave, taking the Israelites with him. It must have been a moment of incredible relief and triumph as the children of Israel gathered their belongings and left the land where they had suffered for generations. But Pharaoh's pride wasn't done yet. As the Israelites journeyed toward freedom, Pharaoh and his army pursued them. Trapped between Pharaoh's forces and the Red Sea, the Israelites panicked. But Musa, calm and full of faith, reassured them. He prayed, and what happened next was nothing short of miraculous. The sea parted, creating a path of dry land. The Israelites crossed safely, and when Pharaoh's army followed, the waters crashed down, destroying them. For the first time in generations, the children of Israel were free. The story doesn't end with the Israelites crossing the sea. Musa now had the immense responsibility of leading a newly freed people, a task that wasn't without its struggles. They faced challenges in the wilderness, including doubts, fears, and moments of rebellion. But through it all, Musa remained a steadfast leader, guiding his people with faith and wisdom. So why does this ancient story still matter today? Because it's about more than just miracles and dramatic confrontations. It's about standing firm in the face of injustice, even when the odds seem insurmountable. It's about having faith, not just in a higher power, but in the belief that change is possible. Musa's story reminds us that freedom is worth fighting for, and that even the humblest person can rise to become a voice for justice. It teaches us that no matter how powerful oppression might seem, it will always crumble in the face of faith and perseverance. This is not just the story of Prophet Musa, it is a story for all of us, a beacon of hope that tells us we can rise above our fears, confront our challenges, and inspire change in our world. So as you reflect on Musa's journey, ask yourself, what's your Red Sea? What's holding you back from becoming the person you're meant to be? If Musa's story teaches us anything, it's this. When you believe in something greater than yourself, when you have the courage to act, miracles can happen.